Most people on death row ask for a priest. Elena Carter asked for Thor. The warden stopped writing. He had been in this prison for 30 years. He had seen men scream for mercy. He had seen them beg for one last phone call to a mother who wouldn't pick up. But he had never seen a killer ask for a German shepherd. "You have 12 hours, Elena," the warden said. "The needle is ready. The execution is set for midnight. Are you sure you want to waste your last moments on a dog?" Elena Carter didn't look up. Her hands were folded on her lap. Her posture was perfect. She looked calm. Too calm for a woman about to die. "He's not just a dog," she whispered. "He's the only one who knows the truth. Before I tell you what happened when Thor walked into that prison yard, I have to ask you something quietly. Have you ever had a dog who understood you without you saying a single word? A dog who knew you were sad before you even started to cry? Most people think dogs just want treats. They think dogs are just loyal because we feed them. But Elena knew better. She knew that a dog cannot be bribed to lie. And she was betting her life on that fact. 7 years ago, Elena was a hero. She was a search and rescue handler. Her partner was Thor. He was a 90-pound German shepherd with ears that could hear a heartbeat and a nose that could find a needle in a forest. Together, they found missing children. They found hikers who had been lost for days. They were a team, until the night the world turned against her. A high-ranking city official was found dead in a park. It was a messy, violent crime. The city was screaming for an arrest. Captain Harlan was the lead investigator. He was a star detective. He never lost a case. 2 days after the murder, he showed up at Elena's door. He said he found her DNA on the victim. He said he found the murder weapon in her shed. Elena was confused. She was terrified. She told them she was home alone that night, but she had no witness. No one could prove where she was, except Thor. Thor had been with her on the couch all night. But a dog can't testify in court. The night they dragged Elena to jail, they dragged Thor to a kennel. She heard him howling through the walls of the police van. It was the sound of a heart breaking in half. For 7 years she sat in a cell. 7 years of appeals. 7 years of being called a monster. The world had moved on. But Thor hadn't. The execution yard was cold. The sky was a dark, bruised purple. This was the last time Elena would ever see the sky. She stood in the center of the concrete yard. Her wrists were cuffed. Armed guards stood on the towers. Then, the heavy iron gate groaned. A guard led a dog out on a thick rope. Thor was older now. His muzzle was white. He walked with a slight limp. He looked tired, like he had spent 7 years waiting for a command that never came. For a moment he didn't see her. He sniffed the air. He smelled the bleach, the old stone, and the fear of the prison. "Thor," Elena choked out. "Search." The dog froze. His ears snapped forward. He turned his head, his brown eyes locking onto the woman in the orange jumpsuit. He didn't bark. He didn't wag his tail. He let out a sound that was half scream, half sob. He ripped the leash right out of the guard's hand. He hit Elena's chest like a freight train. She fell to the dirt, wrapping her arms around his thick neck. Thor buried his face in her shoulder, whining, his whole body shaking. The guards looked away. Even the warden felt a lump in his throat. It was a beautiful goodbye. But then, the air changed. Thor suddenly pulled away from Elena. His tail went bone still. The hair along his spine rose up. He wasn't looking at Elena anymore. He turned his head toward the fence. Standing there, watching the reunion, was Captain Harlan. He had come to watch the execution. He wanted to see his perfect case come to an end. Thor let out a sound that made everyone in the yard shiver. It was a low, vibrating growl that came from deep in his chest. "Control that dog," Harlan shouted. He took a step back. "He's not being aggressive," Elena said. Her voice was suddenly cold and sharp. "He's alerting." The warden stepped forward. "Alerting to what?" "There are no drugs here, Elena." "I didn't just train Thor to find people," Elena said, standing up. "I trained him to detect stress response. When we were in the field, He could tell which witness was lying to us just by the scent of their sweat. He's a biological lie detector. Thor took a step toward the fence. He wasn't playing. He was hunting. His eyes were locked on Harlan. He barked once. A loud, echoing sound that bounced off the prison walls. Harlan's face went pale. He was sweating. "This is a joke. It's a mangy animal. Get it out of here." The warden was a smart man. He looked at the dog. Then he looked at Harlan. Harlan was trembling. His hands were buried in his pockets to hide the shaking. "Captain," the warden said, "why are you so afraid of a dog behind a fence?" "I'm not afraid. I'm just busy." Harlan turned to leave. But Thor wouldn't stop. He began to dig at the ground, barking at Harlan with a desperate intensity. It was the same bark he used when he found a body under the rubble. A young officer standing near the warden spoke up. "Sir, I worked that case 7 years ago. I remember Harlan told us to keep the dog away from the evidence. He said the dog would contaminate the scene. We never let the dog sniff the evidence locker." The warden's eyes narrowed. "Elena, if I let that dog out of this yard, what will he do?" "He'll go to the person who smells like the crime," she said. The execution was stayed. The needle was put away. The warden didn't call the lawyers. He called a different team of investigators. They went back to the old evidence. They looked at the bloody glove that proved Elena was guilty. With new technology, they looked for something called transfer. They found that the blood on the glove hadn't been dripped. It had been smeared. And underneath the blood, they found a tiny piece of carpet fiber. It didn't match Elena's house. It matched the floor mats of Captain Harlan's police car. Harlan had tried to leave the prison, but the warden had the gates locked. By midnight, the exact time Elena was supposed to die, Harlan was in a room by himself. He couldn't handle the pressure. He confessed. He had been stealing money from the city. The victim had found out. Harlan killed him and framed the one person who wouldn't have an alibi. He thought that if Elena was in jail, the dog would be gone. And if the dog was gone, the truth was buried. He forgot one thing. A dog doesn't care about time. A dog doesn't care about power. The sun came up the next morning. It was a bright golden yellow. The heavy gates of the prison opened. Elena Carter walked out. She wasn't wearing orange anymore. She was wearing her old jacket. Thor was waiting by the car. He wasn't growling anymore. He was sitting patiently, his tail thumping against the pavement. Elena knelt down and buried her face in his fur. She cried for the first time in 7 years. "You told them," she whispered. "Good boy." Sometimes, people use big words and fancy suits to hide the truth. They use their power to bury their mistakes. But nature doesn't care about your job title. If you have a dog at home, look at them tonight. You might think you're the one taking care of them. But pay attention. Because one day, they might be the only ones who can save you. Because humans lie. But a dog? A dog only knows the truth.